that we're commentating. Well, I guess you can call it 3 regions at this point with the UCL. So yeah, let's see how the Spearhead performs today. First of all, let's take a look at which map we're going to be playing on. 7 maps, 6 out, 1 will be left at the end of the day.
Oh no.
God. Oh, God.
Hey,
Are you tired of it yet, Fluke? Are you tired of it
Oregon.
yet?
You know, I just love Oregon. Oregon for right now.
Oregon for president, you said?
Oregon, vote them in.
I am going to start... I'm going to start praying.
Cheers, Des is crying now.
Honestly, man, I can't believe that this is still a thing. But yeah, Oregon is still going to be played. What, to play more Oregon?
Now we've seen a good strategy actually. Like people are saving all their niche strats for other maps, so they're choosing to go for Oregon all the time. You know, a bit like the EUC when we only have border, considering it's going out of the rotation. Not saying Oregon goes out, but it's been played so much. Could make sense.
You know what happened? Does this make sense though to take Cyclops to Oregon given Scar's current situation?
It's hard to tell. Scarz on the rise, Cyclops is stagnating, even dropping off possibly. Maybe Scarz feels really confident here and they're going to be able to completely smash them. Or we're going to see Cyclops, you know, live back up to that strength we had in the last stage. It is hard to tell at this moment in time. The weekend is really going to be deciding this. Who had the better rest, who had the better reset, and who's coming better out of their preparations. So, hard to tell.
I think one of the things as well that I want to look towards here. Okay, you look on the board, you look on the magical Liquipedia page, you look at how everything's broken down, you see a lot of Oregon. That's fair. We haven't seen any Oregon from Cyclops recently. We haven't seen a map that is otherwise so ingrained currently into the culture and the meta of the game. We've seen it once from Scarz before and it was a success story, but the moral of the story is we've seen it from Scarz, and that means CAG have seen it from Scarz, and that means they have something to build upon, and you can only really make responses when you know what the questions being posed are, and I'm wondering if that's something that might work in the favor of Cyclops today.
You know, I mean, the biggest story was how Scarz started to improve by the end of last stage and coming into this, and Cyclops, you look at them and you're like, these guys should be really like not just top 3 in Japan, but like really in the top 6 constantly. But they're getting knocked back every single time. And honestly, that tight of a victory against Norengo, we're going to bring this up later. Actually, Gio has a very good point about it once we get to Norengo's game. But man, a close win, despite it just being a win still, is still very scary for your performance. Consistency is the main key here.
Wasn't it that we said before stage 1 started, Fnatic, Giants and Cyclops, they should be in the top 3, and then we ended up with just Giants in there and the rest nowhere to be found. Now Fnatic's starting to live up to the expectations we've had. Cloud9 of course still as well, but Cyclops is dropping off a little bit. So it's you know, it's hard to really tell what's going on here. Consistency is indeed the key. Fnatic have been working on theirs and it's back now. Cyclops maybe not so much. Tough game against Nora as you just said. Let's see if they can get it back, because sometimes, you know, as I said, that reset in the weekend is all you need, because there's not much time to prepare in between games, as you only find out after today's Playday who you will be playing next, considering we're using the Swiss system, which makes it hard to prepare every now and then, which also indicates the fact that the matches on the Wednesdays can be harder, as Monday, or Tuesday, or Thursdays I have to say. The Tuesday is more of a strategy game, I would like to say, and the Thursday is more of a fragging game, considering the fact that you're not going to be able to counter-strat as much.
Yeah, it's a similar thing for EU League, where having that longer weekend in terms of work, it gives you more time to prepare. So, yeah, expecting big changes from literally one day to the next is not really super feasible. But now, Fluke, that they've had the time to prepare for this, Cyclops might actually put themselves back in that advantageous position that they always should have been in, really.
That's it. I mean, it's, you know, with the history of the team, with how they've performed before, with being able to fight the way to the 3rd spot in the mini-major, the major itself, you're looking at, I guess, expectation. And I guess from their camp after the first day, a little bit of worry. And now when they've been able to get that win, yeah, it was down to the wire, but you rebuild from the ground up. You go from a 0-7 to a just taking the win on a draw. if you're looking at that level of projection, if you're looking at that graph, you're looking at a pretty upward trajectory. And this is one where you can kind of prove that, because if we're going with expectation, if we're going with projection, if we're going with an idea of where we can go from this, theoretically success is on the cards for Cyclops.
Well, you know what? Our game is actually taking a while here to get everybody in. So let's just go through a bit of their history. Let's go through both of these teams, kind of take a look at their evolution over the past stage. Because if we look at this from our point of view, Hap, we were seeing what teams like Xavier did in stage 1, right? Moving from phase 1 to phase 2, their improvement was so massive. And if we try to go and compare what's been happening to a team like Scarz, for example, or a Korean team here, it paints a bit of a different picture.
I'll just pull up the standings here so we can completely talk about it. I can feel for days. I have the book hold system all in my head as well, which is always able to be put back up. But,
oh God, no!
Xavier after phase 1 ended in 10th place, in front of Scarz, in front of Pat Norengo. They had a 2-3 win-loss, and then in phase 2, suddenly they were like, you know what? We can get 2-3 like last phase. Or we can just win every single matchup. Managed to win 5-0, take down the Giants as well. And you say, that must have been a close game, right? Because Giants, they look so dominant. No, 7-1 came through. Scarz back then didn't really improve. We're still 1-4 in phase 2 and 1-4 in phase 1. So only managed to win 2 games overall in the last stage. They're already halfway there, and we're not even done with this phase yet. We're not even halfway through the phase yet. So for Scarz, there's big opportunities here to outdo themselves in the complete previous stage.
All right, you know what? Let's have a look at our socials. What do people think about this match? Yes, Fluke. I love your laugh. What's going on?
Yeah, what Hap said. I was just gonna make a joke. Yeah. Wow. Well, that's kind of in line, I think, with expectations. It's people who would vote for Scarz at think this point are taking a bit of a punt with a bit of the energy. There is wind beneath their wings, sure, but last time it was a flight of a pigeon, and you're kind of hoping for a little bit more than that to take care of Cyclops.
Some would say that they are left scarred after such a run of predictions.
I just want to say, I didn't expect the 8% coming in after their win last week. I expected a bit more of the people coming through.
You got to be a madman to kind of go full faith against CAG, even with the statistics. But sometimes the craziest successful stories. And maybe I'm just saying this to insult someone's prediction from our talent team coming up.
Let's take a look at this, actually. So let's bring it up with all the talent team. At least all 5 of us, is Dev and Gio, are taking a rest now before they come on the show. Scarz, hello. Yeah, Des.
So Milos, should me and you both sit there together then, just kind of like, I was sat here like with my lips pursed, like.
I've read the document. I knew what you wanted, and I was just trying to find a way to insult you both without insulting the fans who voted for them.
You can never insult me.
Because you and I were against Jess together yesterday, and here now you're coming against me, Fluke. I don't know how I feel about this anymore.
I swing for everybody.
I swing and I don't goddamn miss.
Well, Des, I've seen your predictions. Actually, you miss pretty often.
Oh, damn.
So do you, Milos.
Yes, that's very true.
Oh,
But I am a host, which doesn't matter in the end. So I can.
See.
This is more of a shot at Des than at anybody else, because if he's missing as much as the host, oh man, it's really bad at that point. Des, please explain away why Scarz so we can get into the game.
I think with Scarz in my mind, it's more towards Cyclops than it is against Scarz here. I think with Cyclops, they got to the major, they looked pretty good there. They came into last week and got absolutely slapped off the park and had a very scrappy close game against Norengo. I'd be very keen to see how people would feel if they'd lost that game against Norengo, if they'd be sitting here saying, actually, Scarz could take this. Because I think Norengo, they're not the worst team. They set a bit of a benchmark here in terms of where gun skill kind of ends and where strategy then begins to a higher level. And so I think if that game had been lost, I think if you'd be sitting here saying, okay, Scarz actually look pretty good, they can take this. I was half kind of trying to be against Hap here. I can't agree with Hap the whole way through. But also partly in this, I do think Scarz can potentially surprise people in this game.
Jess, I see you've had your coffee, which means you are not clawing at things currently. Anything you would like to say to your co-caster, who clearly has gone bonkers?
Look, as you can see, I've got green lit up all around my name. I'm coming back
That's
for
a mistake,
Hap,
though, Jess. You didn't have that draw, did you?
That's very true. That is very true. It was James. James had the draw. It was Dev.
For
No,
Television
I have a draw there. Yeah, just
did you?
draw in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, of course I put a draw.
Okay, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna check the resources tab right now. I'm
Absolutely,
gonna
I put a
find
draw
out.
in that game because
Guys,
I actually thought I
kids,
couldn't tell between them.
Kids. Everybody's
It's all
had
good.
their
Let's
drink.
jump into the game.
We're all ready. Let's toss it to you.
Oh, she
Jess,
did.
Des.
Wow. Okay.
I know you guys. There you go. Jess, you're right. Jess, Des,
the kid.
let's toss it over to you. Oregon, please take it away for the love of God.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, get Hap off our screens and just leave us
Thank
two
you.
here to talk. And yeah, I don't
two
even know
adults.
what that pre-game lobby was. That was a bit of a weird one where Fluke was coming at me and Hap was going at you, accusing you of lying about draw
It
predictions.
literally said
Like,
it on
what
the
is
screen,
this?
Des. I know he wears glasses, but he's not that blind, surely. Anyway, oh well.
You'd hope not. You'd assume not.
Doesn't really matter because I'm not blind here. I'm seeing Oregon again. Deja vu for the 20th time, it feels like, this stage alone. And looks like, well, Scarz will start on attack and Cyclops on defense. And well, we've been speaking about whether or not maps are defender sided recently, and that comes off a little bit of the bans as well, which we will start off with here. And I'm not entirely sure, at least for Scarz and Cyclops, exactly what they will ban. We can indicate in their previous matches what they might look to ban, but sometimes you'll see teams just focus on those target bans.
Quite possibly. And interestingly for Scarz, the only time we've seen them play Oregon was against Talon in both stages. A 7-1 back in stage 1 went to Talon, and then recently when they played it last week on Thursday, that was a 7-4 to Scarz against Talon, whilst on the other side, Cyclops have beat Q-Confirm here 7-2, and then interestingly gone to beat Talon 7-3. So you would wager that both teams have had similar results against Talon, albeit a slightly different Talon. They're looking much better at this stage compared to last. So I think it shakes up with 2 games each on there, both with similar air quotes results on it. I'm quite excited to see how this one shakes down.
Oh, the bans are in, at least for the attack, and 1 defender's out as well. And the Ace and the Thatcher ban, interesting because it forces a
Right,
Maverick onto
surely.
the team. And I mean, they actually might leave it in and get rid of a mirror. A lot of APAC teams are playing mirror, but the KE will go out and that leaves the mirror in. And now Cyclops has the opportunity with multiple parts of the map now to be able to get that extra bit of pressure there onto the attackers, of which Scarz, before their roster changes, I would say would not be adept to something of that kind of pressure, especially with time management. With new roster changes, I would say they've been pretty good at it. One thing to note as well is that we actually saw, and I believe Nosferatu and Cobra have been sort of swapping on the Kali on and off, but we've seen them be okay with the Kali. I wouldn't say they're exceptional with the usage, but they're okay with the Kali and they're at least comfortable in bringing her. You could tell they use her in scrims. So that's great to see there. 6 pick off of it, however, and that's got to be to a Maverick. No? Okay.
No. Yes. Your spidey senses are off this morning. What's going on?
The 6 pick off the mute is also, I would say, very clearly a mistake here. Because the reason they've 6 picked off of it is because they said there's no point, there's a Kali. Well, now there's not a Kali. Okay, they'll go underneath for Attic if they want to push it, and they'll go underneath for Classroom, but you want to time delay a team, and that's what that does from below. You can impact trick as well, and just looking at the gadgets on the side of the defense, that's not even possible anymore. So I'm not sure what their plan is here. Are they okay giving up the walls and just playing off that 1-2 different shields they have? That's okay, but I'm going to make the assessment this is a roam game. There's no way you give up the walls so freely and not also have a roam game in plan.
You absolutely took the point away from me. I was going to say, looking at this comp lineup that we got coming through with the intel out of the Valkyrie, where you might see a camera or 2 outside / below. You've got the Malusi that we like seeing play on their own quite a lot with the C4 rather than impacts, the Jaeger, of course, and maybe even towards the Ella as well. There are options here in the roam game for this side of Cyclops, and maybe that's the plan. Get out in the map, contest Scarz early on. Don't give them too much room to breathe, because when it comes round to execution time with this Capitao on side, things will get pretty dicey pretty quick.
Surprising to see a Jaeger on side, however. Also, there's no real proper, I guess, presence over towards Attic. Early days, of course, only 30 seconds have elapsed, really, and Kanos makes swift entry into Big Tower. He had prepped drones there, and that's always important if you want to be a good time management team. Those pre-prepared drones, to know that no one has rotated up, are key. Now they'll shoot on in there. They'll get that wall open pretty quickly, I believe, but only with the Habana. So they really need... Actually... Oh, secondary gadget. 6 picking off the Kali onto the Cap Tower means they get a crouch hold that they want. And most teams will make a little circle there with the Maverick usually, so that they can crouch in quite safely behind the impenetrable sort of, is that a box or a mattress or whatever that might be there?
I don't think a mattress would be very good at being bulletproof, to be completely honest with you,
True.
Jess. But whatever it is, either way, it does keep bullets back. You're absolutely correct. And I was going to touch on it, but I couldn't stop listening to your wonderful voice telling us all about this round. I would say with the Colbro changeover, you do get that hard breach gadget, which makes sense given they only had the Habana on side. Big risk to not look at bringing a Maverick or a Thermite along with that. Imagine if the same thing happened to these guys as what we saw happening to G2 against Na'Vi yesterday, where your hard breaches are being killed early in the round every single time, and you can get nothing open. So although it's not a... I don't want to say it's not a true hard breach, because it is, but it's not a hard breach in the conventional sense.
No, that's the Malusi down. That's one of those plant denial operators down as well. C4 out of commission. It's up to Gutterada now and the smokes of A-Gator to deny the plant if they do happen to get inside to deny it. We said there should be a roam game, and there kind of was, but it's all towards the, I guess, the western side of the map, which is not exactly where the push has been coming from at all. Now they're going to rotate over surely and use the Habana for bedroom, get a pinch onto both sides of the map, and this kitchen hole that Gutterada has been doing, maybe in the old iteration of Oregon that would have worked, but not now.
Managed to get themselves into game as well. With this being opened up, it's when you start thinking about the execute. The first smoke canister coming out at the 40-second mark, which means this could come down to the final one being deployed and it coming down to a 5 to 10-second final closing rush, which would be messy and scrappy, but it's all that we come to know sometimes here at APAC. It feels like. Tries to peek out with the shotgun, but I believe gets concussed down immediately by the Zofia, so can't push too much further. And you can see the grenades singing through. They are blowing down these shields, and here we go. Gator is sandwiched in from multiple sides, but finds the kill onto Colbro, trying to push his way through the wardrobe. There's that 10-second warning. Changes gun at the last second. Unfortunate, but 11 swings in. Finds a double kill. It's not quite the triples from Playday number 1 that he got 4 rounds in a row. But Nosferatu's going for the planet. Suzu's sealed by himself. And 11's going to close things out with a 3K. This man, despite his name suggesting the number 11, just cannot stop finding that number 3, Jess.
You know, he reminds me of another player in APAC by the name of Charles, from a C9 player who also plays Zofia in the same kind of ferocity that 11 plays Zofia sometimes. And it's nice to see that we have some of those players in the team of Scarz specifically as well, who have had not so much of a bad stage one, we wouldn't say. I wouldn't say he had a bad stage one, but he wasn't a highlight player like we saw Canos multiple times over and over, having those flashy plays. 11 now gets to step up alongside Canos and be that sort of roam clearing duo that we know him to be. And he is quite explosive when he does get into sight. And yeah, I liken him to Charles in that kind of way. But again, they're going to flash a shield this time and 6-pick over to the Capitao. They know that there was a Capitao last round. Multiple bolts weren't raining in, so there's no way that CAG don't know this. And it's good that they have 6-picked over to him, because Anaton's on the clash. You've got to be able to deal with it. Yes, you've got 11 with the concussions, but sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you also need the flames, maybe even Demic's grenade. Whatever they need to do to get rid of this clash, if they do happen to do a freezer push. Who did we see? Packball from EUL. He was holding freezer like a god with that particular operator, with Clash. So if they do the same thing, that would be great. But the thing I'm worried about now is that they were not able to stall them out long enough. The roam was inefficient. CAG need to identify the push of their opponents a little bit better.
It also came down to pairing that with the Doc, mind you, which is not present on side. And truthfully, I'm somewhat surprised by Colbro going back on, sorry, not Colbro, Demic being on the sledge here. I think in my mind, I prefer seeing something like an Iana maybe. The sledge not the most useful here when you're looking to assault downstairs. Given there is no soft destruction to play with, I would argue there are better choices if you want to be bringing those grenades along here.
Sometimes it does come down to a preference thing as well. You know, a lot of people go, well, why not just bring a Maverick? You know, then you've got another hard breach just in case one of your hard breaches dies, but the player says, you know, I'm actually a lot more confident having, you know, whereas the L8 or whatever he rocks, plus the SMG. I feel more confident in being able to gun this way, and that's how I want to do it. However, as the round begins, it looks like a blue bunker push is the play here for Scarz. You see Colbro actually still in spawn droning for his team, and that's not particularly a surprise. You know, you generally have those support players doing that role. They don't really have a support player outside of Nosferatu for this round, so it'll be everyone's job to try and get control. And, well, it looks like the clash was a little bit too harsh for them, so they now decide to push down backstairs together.
Yeah, it makes sense here. I think they felt they were being a bit pressured out, and rather than burning a bunch of utility trying to deal with him, they're aware that there are Goyo shields, there's mirror windows, there's everything they need here to deal with the operators and the gadgets they brought along in this round, and don't want to expend too many trying to kill a clash. They've done the right thing though. They've got themselves upstairs here and looking to hold control of APAC. Sometimes you do see flanks coming out of defending teams to try and get on this hatch above meeting and spray down anyone looking to drop through the meeting hatch, which has just been opened up at bang on the 90-second mark. So the right stuff being done by Scarz here in a relatively decent amount of time, and it's just on Cyclops here to sit and wait and don't feel like they have to panic or anything. I'm looking there towards the setup actually out towards this elbow and thinking, don't want to bail on that one yet, guys. Keep it going for now. Is he salvaging a shield to bring it back in and then reinforce? Yeah, he is. Okay, it's a reposition effort then.
Well, he's wasted more than half the round, and that's a pretty appropriate response to make. We see a lot of teams adapt mid-round, and well, when you know they've stopped pushing blue bunker, especially when the double door's still intact, you could be pretty sure they're not going to push it. Oh no, this is bad for him. Coldbro, he's just going to keep shooting the legs until he walks into the flames, and that's good night to him. And well, with 40 seconds left, this is the most successful attacking site here for Scarz. So if they win this, I'm not going to be surprised. And well, this is really good utility usage here from 11. He can gun, but he can also appropriately use those gadgets.
Brutal, trapping him in the corner behind Fire and giving him nowhere else to go. That clash being gone, that's the stall tactic gone through, but there's still 25 seconds to play with. No smoke on side, there are C4s, and one of those is expended. That could leave up to two if both the Mirror and the Goya have brought them along in this round, which I'm not convinced they will have. Still trying to find what they can do. Gatto down to about 1 HP as he almost dies out, and here we go. Scarz pushing in, C4 comes out, it lands on top of the unit, but only kills Irrigator rather than the Planter. It's going to be trying to get this plant down now as well. Coldbro sticks it out. That's going to connect, and it's a 3 versus 2 for the side of Scarz. Canos on a triple kill this round. I was going to talk about him and Demic having wonderful games against Talon. He's going to strike through and find himself 4 kills in this round. What a play from him, and that's 11 with the 3k in the first round. Canos stepping up with the 4k in the second.
When I said this was Scar's most successful attacking side, I really meant it. I mean, for the most part, they're able to get plants going down, you know, with even 10 full seconds left. And you think you're probably sitting there thinking, that's not a long time. Well, actually it is, especially when you've got to deal with a lot of different utility. You've got to displace pillar players, get those lines of sight, evade all of the smokes and the C4s. It does oftentimes come down to those last 10 seconds. And to be able to consistently start getting that plant off on that side, that's probably a good showing that Scarz knows exactly how to attack it. And the fact that they called the rotate from blue bunker to backstairs so quickly shows me that they also have that leadership there somewhere in the team that's saying, we cannot deal with this in this way. We need pillar control. And I think we should rotate our bunker focus to pillar first, get rid of the clash, and then focus on site. Whoever made the call, great call. And I think this whole 6 picking over to the Kappa Tower has been really good.
It's been highly effective for them, and I guess he's already pretty effective. It reminds me of, I remember actually when I first got into Rainbow, and I looked across the lineup and I saw that he had 2 sets of gadgets with like the fire bolts and the smoke bolts, and you look at Sophia, similar sort of story. Yes, very different functionally, but that's a lot of utility for one operator to carry. And now the fact that he's also got the hard breach gadget only makes him more useful in my mind, because you can now help with the hatches if you need to as well. You aren't limited the way that you would be before to using grenades or the old claymore that he used to bring along. So it's just nice and effective. And I think when it's not banned away, it makes total sense. Maybe when Wamai's on the field, less so. Now that Wamai isn't available, 100% an operator to look at bringing, and I'm really glad to see Scarz making good use of it.
Yeah, I always wonder that, because we see a lot of Wamai ban, especially in EU, but we don't see it coupled with the picking of Capitao either. And I'm wondering whether or not that's just because the opportunity never arises in the strategies of those teams, or it's not something that they've really thought of. Maybe they've thought hard breaches are more of an appropriate response, but he can be that in a sort of short-handed way with that small gadget that he's got now. And I think, you know, if teams can find a way to add him to the lineup, he can be really detrimental to a lot of defensive teams, especially look at Gatorada's position here. We've seen other players like Shaiko play that spot really well, but you can displace it with 1 firebolt, maybe even 2 if you want to trap him completely in the middle. And that, to me, just screams like an opportunity for teams to take advantage of a really easy operator here, and you get a crouch sort of vault hole through a wall somewhere if you do get the wall denial off. So I'm gelling with you here, Des. I'm seeing what you're saying. I'm absolutely picking up what you're putting down. And I think now we're seeing again Scarz going, okay, bunker, not the play again. Let's get this hatch open. Let's get pillar control. Being their primary focus and being that they seem confident with that, I'm surprised that CAG are not implementing a flank or something. Just Gatorada, go up to meeting, shoot a couple of drones, even try and pepper some shots over a Demic or something, but there's nothing.
More to try and achieve for them. Nothing yet being found to start things off. It's more just burning through this utility that's dotted around the map, and also being mindful of those mirror windows. I was going to say I'm surprised they bailed on construction when there's no clash on side, but now it makes a bit more sense. They have managed to rotate back down a bit later. Just wanted to make sure they could clear everything else out first, which they have now done. So the execute is looking likely into the same spot once again. Cyclops are sitting pretty defensively. They've got the smoke this time round. Let's not forget Suzuki coming off the mirror. Anderson moving across to that role, and of course dropping the clash. So they have more stall tools. They have more capability to deny the plant coming in. They've just got to be so mindful of landing those save fours on top of the unit, because so many teams have done that this week, it feels like already, both in EU and in APAC.
Yeah, that's what people are missing out on. That happened on the old Oregon as well. The bookshelf was also just one of those things. You had to arc that C4 correctly, but everyone's still up. No, cast a curse.
Perfect.
One down, and that means that they could still get the plant off. Smokes will rain out, but they're early. Line of sight open to stop the cross. Another C4. They're not missing today, Des, and now this means Colbro, surely he can go for the plant now.
Surely Smokes, I was going to say, are on side as well. They are singing out here, and it's a numbers advantage for Cyclops at the closing stages of a round for the first time in the 3 that we have had. It's going to be an aggressive push coming out of Scarz here. 11 finds one, can't find a second, makes it a triple. He's see your left man. Did you not see him the first time? Apparently not is the answer. Almost with the opportunity to clutch that round out, but must have missed this guy. Look at him. He looks and sees him. Turns around and kills the guy, and Susie's got all the time in the world to change to a shotgun and bring him down. Cyclops will find that round, albeit down to a small misplay at the bitter end there by the side. Well, by 11 on the side of Scarz.
That was such a wild end to the round, of course. Like you said, he got to even swap from his SMG all the way over to his shotgun. Mind you, he would have had to spray transfer through the first to the second and then being able to flick to the person in the hallway as well. So I think either way, one of the players would have killed him, but it was definitely a nice try. So interesting that 11 seems to be the player that's always alive in the last sort of seconds of the round as well. You generally think, Ash, Zofia players, they tend to be the ones that are at the forefront of the action, the ones more likely to die in a round that is not in their favor. But he always seems to be there calculating what he can do when the best time to strike is, and that's giving him the maximum impact. But of course, it doesn't matter if you have maximum impact. It's about the round count in the end. So that's a good replay, actually. That'll give us a little bit more indication as to exactly what happened after those 2 C4s sung out, collected Canos, and then, of course, collected yet another player, I believe. I'm not sure who it was. Was it Colbro or Nosferatu? I'm not entirely sure, but that was a good round.
There were C4s, Jess. Things blew up.
Many.
People died. Nothing more needs to be said. It's as simple as it comes down to. And that was a much better placement of the C4s, as we mentioned as well, which was probably the number one thing to note, I think, was that given how they were using the prior round, where it was, again, the one thrown out, they missed, the second one was thrown out, landed on top of the unit. Did collect a kill, interestingly, but not onto the planter when Nosferatu was getting it down. At least in that last round, they were much better positioned because Iragator was playing a little bit differently, a lot closer to the unit, so could arc it over the unit properly. Now we're heading upstairs once more. Big thing to note for me here, Jess, is that the Valkyrie has dropped the C4. Instead, bringing it on the shield, that screams to me there's going to be more site play. There's more people playing around the site itself rather than looking to roam, because last time round, that wasn't too effective.
Well, we said that they had a little bit of a kitchen roam, and that was more suited to a team that would push across from the west to east, maybe do a double window plant. That's more suited to that kind of push. Of course, Scarz, they're not presenting that way, that they want to do that kind of push. So now this time, they've gone and said, yep, let's get as many shields as we can on site. Let's all sit behind it. They're not go-go shields, so it's safe for them to do so. It forces them to use a lot of utility to get rid of them, but also it gives them a little bit of safety if they do want to sit on site and turtle a bit more. Anaton, he'll have his own shield and attic there. Last time he died really early on when he probably shouldn't have. Peaked an angle that I don't think was advantageous for him. And this time they've got the Monty, and there's nothing really to deal with him here. There's no lesion. I mean, they got the smoke, but you really want to be saving that for the plan. Interesting to see how they'll deal with this.
The fact that he can just brute force his way forwards like this, hasn't got to worry too much. He'll have to back away because of the smoke coming out, but not the end of the world. In fact, they burned both so early, and he's going to have to get himself through the hole. Actually, a really good smoke canister coming out brings Canos down to about a third of his HP. Very effective use of the smoke there. However, it has burnt 2 out quite early on. 1 remains. If they can catch the Monty again, he'll be down, and suddenly this trump card coming out of Scarz completely falls by the wayside.
Those smokes were actually a lot more effective than I thought they would be, and it does come down to trapping that player, forcing them back, and then also forcing them back into more smoke. It's almost the Capitao effect that we see a lot of other teams employ, where you trap them in one, force them into another line of fire, and that's a really good one to play. So Canos is quite lit, but 11 will kick things off with a kill onto Gatorada. C4 yet again gone. Not a good start here for CAG.
These opening kills are coming pretty late. Oh, no, Aniton.
Not like this.
Not like this, not like that either. Canos going down inside a pig as he tries to push quite aggressively into the smoke and gets himself dropped. But Colbro's going to sprint in, finds one inside the dorms. I don't think they had an idea he was there, but clearly he didn't know that Black Ray was holding at the top of White. This leaves one all by himself, and these rounds are playing out in a pretty similar fashion, Jess. Bar last round, it all comes down to Black Ray trying to crutch it out. Almost wins the next one coming out, but 11 steps up once more and closes the round out. I mentioned back on day one, it was all coming up 11 with 3 or 4 3Ks to himself. The next game came down to Canos and Gemic. You're starting to see Scarz adopt this form that we thought they might be able to achieve last season, especially with how well their first game versus Electrify went. If you recall, all the way back then on Clubhouse, this here today is looking like that Scarz we've been waiting to see now for a whole stage.
You predicted Scarz, didn't you?
I did. Of course I did. So I'm going to keep on bigging them up all day long as best I can.
Look, I will always say this. Ever since they did those roster changes, this is not the same Scarz. I'm absolutely 100% okay in saying that, yes, this team is completely reformed. A lot of teams who've made roster changes recently have completely reshaped and revitalized their roster, and I'm loving that for Scarz. What I'm not loving is that Cyclops was, and I'm going to probably use past tense here, was hailed as the best team in Japan. What's going on here that is making them... I wouldn't say less strong, and excuse my lack of vocabulary there, but they're not weaker, per se. Yeah, well, no, they're not weaker per se, because I think that's too harsh to say. What I think it is that they're not confident enough. They're questioning themselves. I can see them doing these half-assed kind of roams. I mean, if you're going to do a roam, commit to it. They're not committing to it. They're half doing it. They're putting players by themselves in positions with not enough utility to be able to hold those positions. They're forcing gunfights unnecessarily, and they're taking a lot of these 1v1s unnecessarily so. So I'm not sure what it is about CAG on their defense that has left a lot to be desired.
I like when you've got a friend who naturally is really skinny and flexes a little bit, and you see abs form and they go, yeah, I've got a six-pack. And it's like, well, have you though, really? Like, everyone thought you're bigging yourself up to be maybe bigger than you actually are, is the way I describe it. And I think coming into the whole competition, back in the start of APAC Stage 1, you are right. Everyone was saying Cyclops are going to finish top 3. They'll probably come in alongside Fnatic, alongside Giants. That's how we think things are going to finish. And look how it went instead. You had Xavier stepping up and surprising everyone in the second phase.
Oh, yeah.
We even had Cloud9 going on to win the whole thing when everyone wrote career off as this region that just simply wasn't that good. Guess what? Times are a-changing, and I live for this kind of volatility inside a scene. Now it depends though whether or not Scarz can actually close this out. The one thing worth mentioning about them, let's not forget, is that last stage they did have Coach Revy playing with them. He's now gone back to being a strategic coach. They dropped Yas, for example, and with these two new players, what I love the most is they're not even the ones that are shining. It's Demic, it's Canos, it's 11, the 3 players that I referenced last week. So it's less so that they're being these high-impact players for them in terms of the kills department. It's more how it enables the rest of the team to flourish around them, and that's something you can't really see. It's not tangible, but it's 100% worth acknowledging and paying respect to.
You know, an interesting little adaptation here. And CAG might have had this before, and it's why we've seen that Ash Charge come zooming through Attic before. They've put that Banshee inside, next to the hatch. It'll be almost impossible to melee, and there goes that Ash Charge yet again. But if a Monty was moving through that sort of area of the Banshee, the AoE of it, then he would get caught in that smoke for double the time. And that's double the damage, essentially, at that point as well. So I love that thinking. CAG, in their heads, are a top 5 team. In practice, it's something completely different.
I hope they do get themselves out of that rut, because I do love the promise that these guys hold and what they can achieve and what we've seen them achieve in a number of games last season, and even stepping into the majors. Some good performances from them. Consistency, what we need to see. With this round, things changing up without that Monty, mind you, it does turn into a more air quotes standard game of Siege. It's less so around trying to escort Monty or even have him escort himself down through Attic and into Pig. Here the focus instead is on taking control of the south side, it seems. Trophy the main focus, also looking towards the walk-in wardrobe. I thought for a second half of it had been left soft, because we saw a team do that in EU yesterday previously, but no, can confirm it is still indeed reinforced. And here they're going to try and get at least part of it open. No impact tricks coming through from the side of Cyclops, and only 30 seconds to go.
Well, 25 seconds left on the clock here, and the Smoke Babes are raining out. Gator sits in a very key position here. We've seen him get multiple kills last time. Firebolts will rain out as well, and I believe that's the last Smoke Babe. So now he's got to swing, and he's got to swing hard. They know that that's the plan. They're going to be ready for it in 11. Yet again, kicking up those opening kills. One shotgun pellet, surely two. Surely the Capital goes down. Bullets missed it. Oh no, it's all up to Suzu C to get on in and get this plant down. Here we go. Colbro gets the plant, and here we go. This is what they need. Addington!
Nice.
He's going to deny the plant. That was a beautiful deny. I wasn't sure if he had the cross there to be able to stop that or not, but sloppy executes in the last 5 seconds. They're crazy. They're messy, and they're meant to be. But it's players who can keep their cool in those last 5 to 10 seconds as that rush comes in, and trust your teammates that they are watching those angles that they've told you they are. Those are teams who can come out on top.
It's all about the time effectiveness in those moments. I agree with you. The number of teams that we've seen coming down to those dying seconds and then trying to go for an execute, it's kind of like, well, you're literally giving yourself no room for error. Imagine if that had been executed 10 to 15 seconds prior, the plant was trying to go down and you had time for someone to step in and then pick up the diffuser and go for a second plant. You allow a small margin of error when you give yourself more time. And the team, it sounds really obvious to kind of refer to them, BDS in Europe. Think about all the games we've seen from them. It comes down to, what, 70, 60 seconds left, and then they're executing. They have so much time to breathe and pause and look around and make sure they're still doing the right thing. They aren't panicking and saying nothing can go wrong, this has got to be flawless. That does feel like it misses with a few teams when it comes to these dying second executes. And although it's easy to sit here and say, just be faster, forehead, like it's not as simple as that, of course, but that does need to be the focus here. You've got the tools, you have the Capital. Pull that trigger at 30 seconds and use those firebolts, use the smokes and get inside of the site. That should give you a lot more comfort when it comes to these executes and hopefully give Scarz this fourth round of the attacking half. That's probably the biggest thing to mention though, Jess. This is the attacking half for Scarz and they've already got 3 rounds.
You talk about the attacking sideness and the defender sideness. I actually just pulled up here on my stats for Cyclops, and actually on Oregon specifically, they're a little bit more attacking sided. So maybe they're on their weakest side here by starting on defense. Maybe we're actually probably not giving them the benefit of the doubt that defending first actually wasn't good for them, when for the most part, it's good for most teams. So, yeah. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here and say that we're predicting things a little too early, that Scarz getting those few attacking rounds was purely down to the fact that CAG, they don't really particularly like to defend, especially on Oregon.
No, quite possibly not. Again, we'll reference the fact they have only had a couple of games, mind you, against teams so far, only a couple to reference overall, and I believe Cyclops' win against Q confirms when they did have a relatively decent attacking record, but we'll see how this one continues here into the final round. Very keen to see how the second half plays out, because if Na'Vi versus G2 from yesterday is anything to go by, you can't judge a game even if it sits at 5-1 at the half. With this site though, looks like more of the same coming out of the side of Scarz, and for once it's going to be CAG getting the opening kill onto Canos. iGator picking him up. That is the Ash gone, it's not the end of the world, but you do lose those breaching charges to deal with shields. Admittedly though, aren't too many scattered around right now.
Interesting. He takes a pick from elbow, decides that's enough, picks up a shield and gets the reinforcement off, even though they have a mirror there. Is this because they want to focus completely over towards the pillar side now that 11 has that control? Very possibly, which is a fair enough assessment. You don't want to be having to watch too many angles, but that's an early pull out of an area that you know for the most part people are still pushing.
Just the fact that it's an opening kill to give them an advantage and slow down the side of Scarz is the big deal in this one as well. Grenade sings over. That will clear off the supply walls if they want to now rotate this Pharaoh 2 down there and open it up. They can. C4 comes in, and well, Demic is stuck in a little bit of a box there. Can't go very far, my friend, and gets himself picked off. These C4s have improved as the defense has gone by for Cyclops after the messy first 2 that we saw. The last ones and the last time he attacked onto this site, and now again in this round, are looking clean. It's a 5 versus 3, and Cyclops looking much better already.
Well, 45 seconds left, and you asked Scarz to be a little bit fast to get those bolts down earlier, and it looks like they tried to make that entry. They did make a little bit of a hole there on the wall, and with all 3 of those ADSs there, it's inhibited 11 from being able to do his job, but well, they still had the flashes in hand from Nosferatu, and another C4. They know exactly how to make that work. It's all up to Colbro. New addition here to Scarz. He'll get 1. Can he get 2? Nada. And that's a round for Cyclops, and one of their most convincing rounds thus far as we near the end of the half.
The cute little things there, like when Frieza got smoked off, they popped their own Goyo shield so no one could come rushing down the corridor, is a prime example of really good thoughtfulness coming out of Cyclops, because that was a snap judgment decision as well to blow that up. Really good round from them. I wish we'd seen it come through a little bit earlier into that half, but either way, it's still 3 rounds, and as you say, if past stats are anything to go by, their attacking definitely isn't weak. Let's see how they deal with this. Just to kick things off, it looks like Colbro is going to be bringing out that clash. Jesus, how many frags on the side of CAG right now?
Yeah, I was going to say, we've got it all. Cyclops want everything they can get, and I mean, making the assumption that Hibana and Ashe don't have breach charges, they've got the flashes, then you've got everything you need to be able to displace all of those ADSs when Mai's banned, so you don't have to worry about that either, and no one's 6-picked. So you can be pretty certain going into this round, you know what's coming for you. Okay, Suzuki's got the smokes, not the frags.
That makes me calmer. Is the way I describe it. I think because of how often we're seeing Ace now, and the number of smoke plants that gives rise to. We saw it with the Monty, almost that the attempt or the thought was there at the very least. Teams are starting to rely on smokes again, and I'm actually, again, really enjoying seeing them come back into the game. I said to you last week, it is making it a lot more objective focused now. It isn't turning into off-site frag fests. We see a lot more executes or attempted plants coming out, normally off the back of all this utility being dumped in. And for me, it gives everyone a really good visual indicator of, right, 1 of 2 smokes have been used, or both smokes have been used. You know this is go time for the attackers, because otherwise they aren't going to get this chance again.
I have a feeling Scarz will play this clash, and likely they'll pair Canos with him, because we've seen Canos play quite aggressive on defense quite particularly. So I'm making the assumption that they'll play that over towards Bunker and be quite aggressive with how they play that clash duo onto that Bunker double door. But looking at the positioning here, no wonder Cyclops set up for a west push consistently, especially on the top floor, because that's what they do. So it's easy to make the assumption that the opposition would do what you do when you are on attack, considering you might think that that's the most appropriate way to push a map, push aside, etc. Top floor clear here for Cyclops, and if you're looking at Scarz placed on the map, well, no one's really roaming, so they don't really have to be worried about anything, and they're going to use the Yana clone, and I take that back. Canos, he's actually being pinched upstairs, and he's all alone here, Des, so no one can help him.
No, the fact that they know he's around, I don't think Liana caught out where he was, but no doubt these drones will have it. There we go, it gets pinched by Black Ray. This is the problem when you're playing off by yourself. Sometimes it's a hard question of, do we commit 2 roamers and potentially lose both, or leave one and see how much damage you can do when you're being swarmed by drones, and of course you've got the Liana drone running around as well. There's not an awful lot you can do there. Black Ray is down to 25 HP, but sooner alive than dead.
Still got all of his gadgets, still got everything he can use to help assist the team in getting that bottom floor. And you got rid of Canos. He's been the thorn in the side of many teams. One of those OG mute jammers. Yep. Always put the mute jammer on the washing machine. That's a bit of an OG throwback there. But they will get the freezer hatch open because you cannot mute that one. Kaid's banned as well. You can see that they did bring the Mavericks. They got rid of that mute jammer just underneath, and now the hatch will get opened. And there's more than 60 seconds left. So for the most part here, time-wise, this is looking really healthy for Cyclops. One of the big fraggers down. They've got Colbro, who's not really a gun. He's just a shield. He's just intel. So only 3 guns pointing back at them. And maybe it's Nosferatu has that C4. Maybe he's got some planted alongside Demic. But for the most part, if CAG can make this a quick entrance into Freezer, this should be their round.
Depends if they can breach through here. If 11 gets a couple of kills here, then everything shuts down. We've seen these Laundry and Freezer takes before, and they're not pretty. Anderson gets in from Laundry. That's the big snag through the open wall that you've got to be so mindful of. Suzuki finds another one, eventually shut down by Colbro, but there's just 2 left. They are being surrounded on literally every single side. The plant is going down. Demic is all alone here and trying to keep this one going. Someone's going to catch him at some point from some strange angle that Cyclops have got control of, but they don't even need to be downstairs anymore. The plant is down. They're straight back upstairs. This is going to be a tall order to be able to close this one out. Demic finds one onto Anaton. 2 still standing, but 1 at the top of stairs. Suzuki brings him down, and Cyclops, that's their 3rd round back to back. Looks like they've leveled up a little bit here, Jess, and attacking with a bit of panache in that round. I love it.
I'm questioning whether or not the decision from Colbro to shield on his back and then take that gunfight was the appropriate one, especially when there was such a force being pushed in from Laundry's side. Okay, Freezer was the predominant area that he wanted to focus on. That's fair enough. But he could have just delayed everyone, given the opportunity for his defenders to go and deny the plant, even shoot through the soft wall. It was being planted in front of a soft wall. So if he had have given his teammates maybe an extra few seconds to focus on that rather than going for the gun kill, maybe that round might have been different. But we always think about that, Joe. We always say what ifs, and that's not okay to always throw out there, especially when you're in a very stressful last execute of a team. But that was a pretty good round there from Cyclops. I think they did stall out a little bit in the late game. Most teams do. But I think they dealt with that freezer pressure really well, especially with that grenade sailing over, knocking him down to, I believe, 1 HP, and then him just getting absolutely demolished from the laundry angle.
I mean, it came down to 2 kills in that round. The first one, which you saw Canos upstairs being completely isolated out, being sat in one place for a little bit too long and getting caught out. And the second one that came through, got to give it over to the side of Anderson, I think it was. He got that kill across from Laundry through into Freezer. I'm kind of wondering where the person was, or where the player was on the side of Scarz that was trying to hold the Laundry angle to prevent that kind of angle being threatened. Otherwise, it was a bit of a mind slip coming out the side of 11 to get himself snagged out there. Bit of a change coming here in terms of lineup, though. The Malusi being brought along here in place of that Lesion. Otherwise, it looks like everything else is business as usual.
The trouble is, if you can get yourself up onto the washing machine, there's not a lot of angles that can see you, and you can see that freezer angle as well. I didn't see it, of course, the top down when that occurred. I was focused quite seriously on Freezer and Colbro taking that clash gunfight. But I think for the most part, there's quite a few angles from Laundry that you can be seen from, but there's also places you can tuck yourself in and have that really good pixel peek from. So it's a dangerous area, but it can also be a very fruitful area, especially when you're assisting a pinch from Freezer, and that's exactly what the attackers did. They took that attention over to Freezer. It gave Laundry some room to breathe. And look at this, Canos, well, he's a lot closer to sight this time, and rightfully so, after he got absolutely demolished on that top floor. I said it before, demolished is probably even an understatement. What was there, a Yana clone, a drone, pressure from Armory, and pressure from Trophy Games door? It was all over, and here we go again. The ash is popping off, but this time it's Black Ray.
Oh my, that's the pop inside of Freezer as well. This early in the round? We're only 60 seconds in. They've already cleared out the crucial member once again inside of Freezer. That's twice now that 11 has been snagged out inside. They're admittedly from different positions and also at different moments and different levels of importance into the round, but it's still him going down twice. After the first half he had, probably thought he'd be alive a little bit longer. Otherwise, things are playing out as you'd expect. You did see earlier on Canos hanging up towards the tower stairs, just trying to catch those drones before running back down to site. Good little method to take into ranked games there. If you do want to kill some drones on the other team, just perch at the top of stairs and retreat back down once you've been droned out, and there'll be nothing else really the attackers can do to stop you playing like that. Otherwise, in a 5 versus 4, no doubt filling Cyclops with a bit of confidence here, knowing that Scarz are at least weakened slightly by 11, who I didn't see if he had a C4 or not, but I'd assume he did.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure he did, because there was no need for him to have impacts playing on site. It wouldn't have helped his team in any way, shape, or form, unless maybe they wanted to impact trick something, but it doesn't seem likely. This time, Cobra will be the only one yet again to challenge onto the Freezer angle, and this shield here from Demic's a good one. It'll give him the opportunity to at least try and challenge somewhere over onto that Laundry part. I believe the Ash Charge may have dealt with it, not entirely sure, but you can see the rotates coming in. Is this because they want to start pushing down back pillar and pinch that way instead of Laundry? Do they want to? Maybe they're trying to avoid the predictableness that they've had come towards them, but another great nade. That's going to get Demic on the shield. I think they just wanted to destroy it, but they'll get a kill gifted as well. And now this trade for trade still puts Cyclops in a man advantage. That's really good for them, but 20 seconds less, Des. They need to get this happening.
Oh, you put it away, and you know about the amount of time it takes to get the gun out here. Everything collapses for the side of Scarz. These have been 2 phenomenal attacking rounds coming out of Cyclops here. And admittedly, things like taking the peek, you mentioned it yourself, Black Ray coming for that later round flank down the back of the pillar stairs. I thought admittedly he'd have a much more impact than that in terms of getting 2 or 3 kills, because Scarz just would not be aware he was coming. But either way, it's that thoughtfulness once again from Cyclops, pausing a little bit mid-round, getting the setup correct, discussing what needs to happen next, and going for the execute. Scarz are left reeling.
Why, Colbro, why? The first round when he put the shield on his back and he went for the trade, I can understand why he did that. I can sympathize, I can empathize and say, yeah, in that moment, I can understand why you made that decision. But that round, where the execute wasn't even going down, nuh-uh. Why you put the shield on your back to engage in a gunfight unnecessarily so, especially with a player that wasn't even on site yet, not an appropriate response, especially when you're in, you know, I dare to say this actually, back when Revy, their coach, was on the team and was pretty much the Clash main, the way he perfected his usage of that, I mean, I wouldn't say he's the best Clash player in the world, but it absolutely was reminiscent of someone who understood how to play Clash. That's what Colbro needs to be thinking back to and going, okay, Revy played it like this. This is how he was impactful with it. This is how Clash is meant to be played, especially in the dying seconds of a round. He wasn't doing it. He could have been the clutch player in multiple rounds for his team here, and that's a shame.
I just appreciate the interesting choice of operators coming out of Cyclops for this upstairs site. Once again, leaning in towards those smokes and the double nade setup. We saw this coming out of them back in the first round of the half. So clearly something they're looking to keep hold of and make use of at every earliest opportunity. But the big thing for me is coming down to that Finker and the Decabi at the same time. Imagine how strong the executes are going to look at that moment. Not that I feel like they need it, given how well they've gone so far. It's even going to be Gatto trying to sneak his way in downstairs. No one probably aware of that, as they wouldn't have heard that door shatter, assuming anyone is downstairs, of which they are not.
It's a good place to enter as well, especially when the site is upstairs. It's a long way away from usually any defenders. 11 does want to challenge it, and we've spoken about Canos being the one that sort of wants to lurk offside. I can imagine 11 absolutely wants that as well. Why he's sort of up in attic, maybe he thinks that it's going to be an attic push, and rightfully so, but guess what? They've got a Dokkaebi on site, and now your position is given away. Canos stands in a really precarious position to answer his phone, not the play, bro, and well, it means Gatorada will get a free kill, and surely he hacks his cams as well, because the phone is just laying for free down there, and smokes rain out as well. What is this?
Is he not bothering? No, he's trying to go for the push and gets domed out by 11. They didn't know where he was, clearly. Must have heard the phone ringing out and thought, oh, okay, maybe he's through in the back room. Absolutely not. He was a little bit closer than that. However, the plant is coming through. The Finker was popped out to get everyone on side and go for this execute. And now it's going to be panic stations coming through for the side of Scarz, as they've been caught red-handed here. The plant coming through the double window. Flash is being popped out pretty much everywhere. And it feels like almost as if the plant isn't down yet, given how they're trying to hold things out. 11 finds the second up white stairs. Now they have this control. They're going to have to try and contest onto the window. Nosferatu with the final bullet gets one. Does he get the second two? Suzuki trades one back. He knows there's one more out here as well. Swings around and gets it. It's a 1 versus 1. But will he get away with this in time? There's Aegator below. He's got the grenade in hand. There is no way Nosferatu gets away with this. Grenade from below. Good night. Cyclops take another round. That is 5 back-to-back.
Can we just have Aegator always play a grenade op from now on? Forget the Ash, bro. The way he throws grenades and his game sense and map awareness is phenomenal. When he killed Demic on the shield, when he was able to sail that one over and freeze, I believe that was him as well, over towards the player and get him down to 1 HP. The man almost never misses. And what I said before in the first half is absolutely coming to fruition. They are an attacking-sided team, especially on Oregon, and the stats today don't lie.
They do not. This is actually quite terrifying how they've got, 5 rounds in a row, and given when it's sat at 3-1 to the side of Scarz, who are like, hey, they're looking like a real good team, and Cyclops haven't really turned up. Change is over, and look how this one shapes out so far. I love how much flexibility we're seeing in their attacking setups too. They've brought something different every single time. Iana the first time, Nomad the second, we've just seen Decabi and Finker, and now we even just saw a Lion being hovered over, and that's going to get brought along here too, along with Iana once again. So it's all about this intel game for them. I love how they're changing between this, and it's keeping Scarz guessing and reeling the whole way through. They just don't know what to expect.
It was really quite hard there for me to follow the pattern of strategy there in that last round, because what they were doing is they were making so much of a commotion downstairs, even to the point that our observer didn't see the plant was initially going off a double window. That's how much commotion they were making downstairs. And it's one of those look at me over here so you don't look over their tactics. They don't always work. There's something that I would consider to be more of a pocket strat, because once you pull it once, a team then becomes ever, I guess, aware that that's something that might occur again, especially with rushes. They tend to be pocket strats as well. So I don't imagine they'll do it again, but you can see Gatorada on the line. You'll either use him as an ability to lock out defenders or go for that quick plan and be able to lock them out for being able to deny it as well. So it's an interesting operator that has multiple uses. I want to see how he uses it here.
More just about that constant collection of the roamers, I think, and just making sure there's no nasty surprises coming out of Scarz, because although, yes, it hasn't been a Nomad every single time, there's been a focus on those phone calls, on the Lion being brought along here. Everything, again, is just screaming to me, control Scarz, keep them on site, because so far, Scarz have looked really wobbly on site. It's come around to the executes, and Cyclops have been in full control. They've been the one finding the frags. In that last round, sure, there was a brief flourish coming out of 11, but outside of that, nothing really to shout home about.
Oh, oopsie doops. That's going to give away the position of the player on the top white, and that's almost a free kill for Black Ray. If I'm that player, I don't peek that again. R4C's got too much of a punch. EE1D, the first one will ring out, and this Banshee will give away Black Ray's position. Surely the Malusi should be able to capitalize on this. That particular SMG has little to no recoil, even at distance, so it's one of those ones you can be quite confident with. Of course, the Penta skin on there, love that. Good to see. Nonetheless, he also has that vertical pressure above as well, and that's an old trick that people used to do back when they held kitchen, is that they would have that vertical hole above to help assist the defender playing in kitchen.
Still holding and waiting. Canos downstairs. We've already seen him isolated out a couple of times on the roam, so I'm hoping here he can have an impact later on. And surely on the side of Cyclops, someone is in there to find something, but Black Ray's still going to walk up regardless. Does get smoked out here. Should have been walking into the waiting arms of Canos, but no, he doesn't strike. He sits back and waits. What the hell just happened there? That's yet another entry kill coming in for Black Ray. My God, at 13 kills, is he having a game here?
Oh, some good pre-fires from Canos. He misses the initial but gets the last, and that's a good hit onto Black Ray. Is there still a Malusi with a C4 below? Nope. It's 11 doing a good old flank onto Gatorada. Good picks here, and guess what? Now they can focus almost all of their attention to the double window. Canos gets A Gator below. Now it's all the double window. This will come down to frags, and surely this is Scarz round, because you no way when you are one-dimensionally pushing should you ever win that.
No, surely it gives some kind of relief to the side of Scarz, but let's not forget with Cyclops being sat at 6 already. This is probably going to turn into an overtime kind of game, and there we go with the spray coming in. That's going to be Anderson going down, diffuser in hand. It's all down to see what they can do with the one left alive. What a shot from Suzu to still bring the round in their favor somewhat. It's a 1 versus 3, so a lot of work to do, and with it, members above. Wouldn't be surprised if he finds himself getting sprayed down in just a few seconds. Needs to recover that diffuser, but with 15 seconds to go, I don't see a way in which he manages to get the diffuser, kill enough members to then be able to successfully plant or win the 1 versus 3 in the first place. He is going to try, but I think Jess will know exactly how this round ends.
He might be able to get some beautiful exit frags, and yes, he does. And Cobro, well, he'll be able to finish it off. And he was the one that managed to look through white window from that vertical as well and get that down onto the player outside. So I think the biggest thing there was that it looked like they had good control below. And when I say control, it was really, that's a really iffy way of putting it. They didn't really have control. They had lines of sight onto the bottom to make sure there was no C4s, and it didn't really matter anyway because they weren't focused on the flanks. And that's when 11 took advantage, flanked up towards main lobby and all the way up in armory. And that's the biggest issue, I think, with having a strategy where you pinch from all sides, is those sides of the shape, we'll call it like a triangle push. You know, they have the people pushing from white stairs, double window, and armory. That's a good way of pinching the side, but now every corner is weaker because you have less people there. And if you have one person playing a trophy trying to pinch and do all the work themselves, they can't also watch the flank. They can't also be able to flick left, right, and center. And so if you lose that one corner of the triangle, everything becomes misshapen very quickly.
We do still sit at match point for Cyclops here at a 6 and 4. A couple more rounds and we would see that first overtime creeping in on the first game of the day. When else would it be best due to arrive? Otherwise, Cyclops will take away this win, as many of you correctly predicted at home. If they're going to think it was, what, 8% of the audience went for Scarz? Ouch.
Ouch.
Bias chats is probably how I'd describe it best. But I think looking at the other side of Scarz, to be fair, the other day it was again about Demic and about Canos. They were the ones who went really big for them. Today it's 11 doing the same for them once again. And we talked about Nosfera 2 and Coldbro. Again, their role isn't to be these big fraggers. It's more to enable the other three to do their jobs. They had a really good first half, but have definitely been muted in this second half. Let's not forget that last round was the very first one they have won in this half of the map. They've got to go on to win 2 more in a row here if they want to see themselves getting anything out of this game. And even then, there's another, essentially a best of 3 to play when it comes to overtime.
Depends how the overtime swings for Scarz as well, or more specifically, how it would swing for Cyclops. I mean, you can't rely on one-sidedness. I can't remember what other team we've spoken about as well. We said, you know, they're so good on one side, but the other, it's like it's not the same team. And that you can't rely on being really good on one half, because that means you have to be perfect. You can't make a single mistake. And, well, even though Cyclops are getting away with that now, it's not forever. And it's especially not against higher tier teams in this particular league. You don't get away with those types of things. Nonetheless, double hard bridge coming into play here, Habana and a Maverick. Not sure whether or not, well, we won't have a Capitao with that gadget in play here either. So they've really got to rely on those players staying alive. I think Canos wants to challenge into meeting this time. I mean, he has been playing backstairs quite a bit. That's where their main focus has been. Backstairs, meeting hatch, and then that late rotate into blue bunker.
Color me shocked that the comp for Cyclops is air quotes normal for the first time this whole game. There's nothing crazy coming out, no wild variation. This is just cut and dry Oregon execution style, nothing too frilly about it in terms of the Nomad or the Yana or anything else like that. Still, with 90 seconds left to play, no one being dead, this is probably the most peaceful round I think we've seen in quite a while. In fact, yes, in this half, every single opening kill has come around the 150 to 2 minute 5 mark, except for the last round where it came about 1/3 with Blackray charging up white stairs and getting that kill. So they've been very bloodthirsty rounds, but this one slightly calmer, Jess.
ADS in Harry Potter as well, and that was most likely to protect Canos. He's even going to be able to get barricade that blue bunker double door, which is great because that's a sound indicator. If someone does come down, they have to re-break it open, and Canos will know almost instantly. That's where Suzy C is going to. Nosferatu's there as well. Now this is the execute. Nades run out, flashes run out as well. It's a flurry, and it's going to be the entry from Blackray.
Oh my god, in the last 5 rounds, he has got 4 of the entry kills. The man's a madman, finds a double kill in this round. Oh my god, making a triple as he gets another inside of elbow. There's 2 left for Scarz here. They are in a 4 versus 2, and Colbro has got nothing left. It's down to 11. He's played so well all day, but can he do enough here to keep his team in the game? Something tells me no. Down goes Colbro. 11 does get 1, but it's a 1 versus 3, and with 30 seconds on the clock, man, they've got all the time in the world to play with here. C4 comes out, should catch to the full spot, but Annington, the presence of mind to move, doesn't know there's one to his right. Blackray gets a 4K in the round. That was possibly the best attacking half I think we are ever going to see coming out of Blackray. What an absolute monster he has been.
He's the entry you want, he's the entry you deserve, and it's the one that's given Cyclops here a very definitive win. It looks very shaky in the first half, but as I said, coming into the second, on Oregon, Cyclops is an attacking-sided team, so beware APAC North teams. They are fearing.
Look at him!
I'm 17? I didn't even realize.
I'm not even joking. Again, 5 of those attacking rounds, he got the entry kill. That last round, he got a 4K. Yep. He had double kills in a good number of rounds. He was quiet in the first half. Let's not make no mistakes about that. He was very quiet. But come the second half, Blackray on Oregon attack. Guys, you've got to ban this map, not because of Cyclops. Ban it because of Blackray. The dude is an absolute demon. My God. Let's go over to the desk and see what they think about that game, because that was one hell of an attacking half, guys.
Thanks so much, guys. Yes, hell of an attacking half. First of all,